Grinch.
Greetings, friends, horror fans, lovers of the occult, and welcome back to a very special Grinch After Midnight. So earlier today on the main Grinch 1984 channel, I've been starting to do live streams, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And since today we streamed with Mr. Anonymous, we were just hanging out. We just watched one of Clown's streams, and then as we're sitting here afterwards hanging out, it hit me, oh shit, I did not film my Grinch After Midnight for this Friday, and tonight is Friday night. So this is going to probably not make it to midnight, or not make it by midnight. This will be up probably closer to 1 or 2 this morning, the 2 a.m. Saturday morning, you know what I mean. But I didn't want to go a week without doing it, so this is part 2 of scary stories to tell in the scary stories to tell in the dark. It's not scary if I fuck up, or it's scarier. Oh yes, we start this off right. Here's how it works. I'll count to 3, and we're both gonna snap.
Okay.
To kick it off. We'll go 1, 2, 3, snap. Are you ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Let's begin. A new horse. 2 farmhands shared a room. One slept at the back of the room. The other slept near the door. After a while, the one who slept near the door began to feel very tired early in the day. His friend asked what was wrong. An awful thing happens every night, he said. A witch turns me into a horse and rides me all over the countryside. I'll sleep in your bed tonight, his friend said. We'll see what happens to me. About midnight, an old woman who lived nearby came into the room. She mumbled some strange words over the farmhand, and he found he couldn't move. Then she slipped a bridle on him, and he turned into a horse. The next thing he knew, she was riding him across the fields at breakneck speed, beating him to make him go even faster. Soon they came to a house where a party was going on. There was a lot of music and dancing. They were having a big time inside. She hitched him to a fence and went in. While she was gone, the farmhand rubbed against the fence until the bridle came off, and he turned back into a human being. Then he went into the house and found the witch. He spoke those strange words over her, and with the bridle he turned her into a horse. Then he rode her to a blacksmith and had her fitted with horseshoes. After that, he rode her to the farm where she lived. I have a pretty good filly here, he told her husband, but I need a stronger horse. Would you like to trade? The old man looked her over, and he said he would do it. So they picked out another horse, and the farmhand rode away. Her husband led his new horse to the barn. He took off the bridle and went to hang it up. But when he came back, the new horse was gone. Instead, there stood his wife, with horseshoes nailed to her hands and feet. Something was wrong. One morning, John Sullivan found himself walking along a street downtown. He could not explain what he was doing there, or how he got there, or where he had been earlier. He didn't even know what time it was. He saw a woman walking toward him and stopped her. "I'm afraid I forgot my watch," he said, and smiled. Can you tell me the time? When she saw him, she screamed and ran. Then John Sullivan noticed that other people were afraid of him. When they saw him coming, they flattened themselves against a building or ran across the street to stay out of his way. There must be something wrong with me, John Sullivan thought. I'd better go home. He hailed a taxi, but the driver took one look at him and just sped away. John Sullivan did not understand what was going on, and it scared him. Maybe somebody at home can come and get me, he thought. He found a telephone and called his wife. But a voice he did not recognize answered. He asked, "Is Mrs. Sullivan there?" "No," the voice said. "She's at a funeral. Mr. Sullivan was killed yesterday in an accident downtown." Something was wrong indeed. The wreck. Fred and Janine went to the same high school, but they met for the first time at the Christmas dance. Fred had come by himself, and so had Janine. Soon, Fred decided that Janine was one of the nicest girls he had ever met. They danced together most of the evening. At 11 o'clock, Janine said, "I have to leave now. Can you give me a ride?" "Sure," he said. "I've got to go home too. I accidentally drove my car into a tree on my way over here," Janine said. "I guess I wasn't paying attention." Fred drove her to the head of Brady Road. It was a neighborhood he didn't know very well. "Why don't you drop me off here?" Janine said. "The road up ahead is in really bad condition. I can walk home from here." Fred stopped the car and held out some tinsel. "Have some," he said. I got it at the dance." This is going to be completely unedited. Normally I cut out my fuck-ups, but it's a special night tonight. We're going raw. "Have some tinsel," he said. "I got it at the dance." "Thank you," she said. I will put it in my ear. I'll put it in my hair." Yeah, we're definitely not editing this at all. So Janine puts the tinsel in her hair. And she did. "Would you like to go out sometime? To a movie or something?" Fred asked. "That would be fun," Janine said. Afterward, Fred drove off, and he realized he did not know Janine's last name or her telephone number. "I'll go back," he thought. "The road can't really be that bad." He drove slowly down Brady Road through a thick woods. Alvin Schwartz, might want to get on that, buddy. He drove through thick woods, but there wasn't a sign of Janine. As he came around a curve, he saw the wreckage of a car ahead. It had crashed into a tree and had caught fire. Smoke was still rising from it. As Fred made his way to the car, he could see someone trapped inside, crushed against the steering wheel. It was Janine. In her hair was the Christmas tinsel he had given her. The man in the middle. It was almost midnight. Sally Truitt had just gotten on the subway train at 50th Street after visiting her mother. "Don't worry," Sally had told her. "The subway is safe. There is always a policeman on duty." But that night, she didn't see one. Except for her, the subway car was empty. At 42nd Street, 3 tough-looking men got on. 2 of them were holding up the third, who looked drunk. His head rolled from side to side, and his legs refused to work. When they got him seated between them, his head came to rest on one of his shoulders. Sally thought he was staring at her. She buried her head in a book and tried not to notice. At 28th Street, one of the men stood up. "Take it easy, Jim," he said to the man in the middle, and he got off. At 23rd Street, Jim's other friend stood up. "You'll be fine," he said, and he as well got off the train. Now the only ones left in the car were Jim and Sally. Just then the train went around a sharp curve, and Jim pitched onto the floor at Sally's feet. When she looked down at him, she saw a trickle of blood on the side of his head, and just above it, a bullet hole. This has been Grinch After Midnight. Next week we're going to try something a little different. These are scary stories from my childhood. They're more geared towards children, but they're still hoot and holler and good time. So next week we're going to look at some creepy Reddits and creepy pastas and try to put our own horror flair on it. It could be me. It could be me and Mr. Anonymous. We don't know yet. I guess we'll have to tune in Friday night to find out. Thank you all, friends, horror fans, and lovers of the occult. Until next Friday after midnight, have a safe week, and I'll see you in your nightmares.
Penis.
I'm not cutting that.
Turn around and say